I'm Joy Morris, inviting you to listen to true stories of the Wild West, hosted by C.R. King, a production of RK Enterprises.
Hey everybody, C.R. King here. Today we're going to talk about the Bandit Queen, Belle Starr. She was born in 1848. Her real name was Maybelle Shirley. Her family called her May. And that was on February 5th, 1848, that she was born in Missouri. And she died 2 days shy of her 41st birthday on February 3rd, 1889. Her mother was a Hatfield from the famed Hatfield-McCoy feud. She was married and long gone when that feud flared up, so she was not involved in it. She was 18 when she married her first man, Jim Reed. Jim was her childhood sweetheart. This was in 1866. She gave birth to her first child, Rosie Lee, nicknamed Pearl. 2 years later, members of her family began to believe that her first child, the father of her first child, was Cole Younger, another man that she knew when she was young. In fact, she knew all of the younger brothers, and then through them, Frank and Jesse James. Now, Jim and May had a second child, a son. He was born in 1871. They don't speak much about him. He was, by the way, born in California. No idea why she was there. Well, Reed was a criminal. It was easier to steal than it was to work a farm. And he stole horses, stagecoaches, whatever he had to do to get ahead. It was now 1874, and a warrant was issued for his arrest for stagecoach robbery. And before he had a chance, or before he was located, I should say, by the law, Belle's husband, Jim Reed, was shot and killed in Paris, Texas, by a member of his own gang over some petty argument. Who knows what it was, but he was dead. She immediately left Texas for Indian Territory, where she met Sam Starr. And like Jim Reed, he was a criminal. He was also an Indian. It was around this time when Mary Belle became known as Belle Starr. And for the next 9 or 10 years, the Starrs avoided arrest. She gained a reputation. It was nicknamed Bandit Queen. She had a strong sense of style, which contributed greatly to her legend. She wore black velvet riding clothes and always rode side saddle. And as other frontier women, she herself was a crack shot. In 1883, the law arrested her and her common-law husband, Sam, for horse thief. Both were sentenced to 5 months in the federal pen. When their term was up, they were released. They went right back to criminal behavior. Before long, Belle and Sam's home was opened up to their friends. Frank and Jesse James would hide out there when the heat was on. The Youngers did the same. Everything was kosher. And the Youngers, as I said, were no strangers, as well as the James boys. And Belle participated in cattle and horse thievery in the Dallas area. That's Dallas, Texas, by the way. They moved around a little bit. Her reputation was cemented. Her lifestyle would never change. Nope, she was who she was, a bandit, the queen of the bandits. So, she was forever cemented, like I said, as the bandit queen. She wasted no time because her husband also was killed. It's a bad lifestyle, isn't it? And she found herself a new man, Jim Judy. And by the way, her husband was killed by, again, somebody he knew. It was an old grudge. So Jim was a Creek Indian, and he was 15 years younger than she was. In July 1889, he was arrested for robbery and summoned to Fort Smith, Arkansas. She went with him, but when she got pretty close to Arkansas, she had a change of heart. She turned around and headed back home. Well, here's what happened. On her way home, someone in hiding shot her in the back with a shotgun. She laid on the ground, and as she laid on the ground, still a little bit alive, the shooter walked up and shot her in the face. She was dead with half a face. Now, her lover, Jim Judy, believed that their neighbor was the murderer. His name was Edgar A. Watson. Belle had threatened to turn him in to the authorities for a murder that he had committed in Florida. Grand jury was convened. There was no evidence to prove that he was guilty, and he was released. Mr. Watson left that area post haste and for good. Now, the Fort Smith Elevator, a newspaper, wrote an article in 1889. Here's what it said. Indian Territory, that Belle Starr was killed there. Sunday night, Belle was the wife of Cole Younger. She was the most desperate woman that ever figured on the borders. She married Cole Younger directly after the Civil War, but left him and joined a band of outlaws that operated in the Indian Territory. She had been arrested for murder and for robbery and a score of times, but always managed to escape. Okay, that's the end of the quote. Newspapers all over the country picked up the story and they reprinted it, including the New York Times. Dime novels gave misinformation, movies glorified her because she was the bandit queen. But in reality, she was not much of a bandit. She did some horse thievery, for which she served 5 months in jail. It was allowed and had allowed real criminals, gangsters, to use her home as a hideout. Knowing the Younger gang and the James gang as intimately as she did was her claim to fame. Belle was never married to Cole. This is just part of her legend. Belle Starr went down in a Western folklore more for whom she knew than what she did. Now, as a side thing to end this show, it is said, and I have read it, that her son killed her. They have no proof, but her son was heavily mistreated by her as he was growing up. So, we can't prove it, but anyway, that is the short story of Belle Starr, the bandit lady. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Be safe. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Stay tuned for next week's tale.